What's up, guys? Tom here from Metalloud, and I'm here with another A Decade Under the Influence, where we review albums that are turning 10. This time we're going to be talking about Koffin Straying from the Pack. Now, I've talked about Koffin quite a bit. I did another A Decade Under the Influence for the album that came out previous to this one called Inhumane, which I feel is their best album and probably one of my favorite albums really of all time. So if you're not familiar with the band, or if you don't know anything about the genre that they are in, which is called psychobilly, I definitely suggest you check out that review. I kind of went over elements of the genre as well as talked about the band, so you get a little bit better idea going into this one as well. So Straying from the Pack is actually quite a fitting title for this album, mostly because they've actually kind of changed up their sound here a little bit. It trades in a lot of the kind of weirdness and experimentation that was going on in the first two albums for a much faster and aggressive sound. It's leaning more towards hardcore punk than it is really rockabilly like they did in the past in their first two albums, or even different elements of different genres as well. And it's something that's really heard right from the get-go with the song March of the Waynos, which it's just this intro track like they've done, mostly instrumental with some kind of backing vocals, no actual words or anything like that. And it's kind of eerie. It's a nice setup for it, but you definitely hear the more aggressive drum beat that you would hear that you really hadn't heard previously to this, as well as the guitar riffs. Things are kind of sped up a little bit, not what we kind of heard in the past, and it kind of ditches some of the more almost pop elements and the surf rock sound that they had. And again, it just brings in a more distorted guitars and faster drumming that really just never lets up. It is pretty relentless throughout this entire album. It never really slows down any. And this whole change also shows up in the actual song times, which none of them actually hit the 3-minute mark. There's a few that are just under it. Most are under 2 minutes. There's even a song called Crack Rock, which is probably one of my favorite songs from the band, actually. And it actually comes in under a minute. It's 49 seconds, and even some of that is an outro leading into the next song as well. And it all kind of adds up to a fairly short album. Thankfully, though, the songs on here are as strong as ever. Splatterhouse is this pretty kind of dark and gross song, which it kind of feels like a horror movie done in a audio form, and I really enjoyed it. Something that they're really kind of good at is these really gross, over-the-top lyrics. You have Graveyard Tree 3, which continues from the first two albums, and it kind of continues that same story of lost love, we'll call it. And again, it's a much faster, it's kind of got this nice groove to it. It's probably actually my second favorite Graveyard Tree song. And again, you really definitely feel that kind of change in the tempo of things on this album. You have Setting Her Free, which references drug use, and which actually is something throughout the entire album. It's kind of a theme, is a lot about dealing, like I mentioned, the song Crack Rock, which is literally about what it says. Setting Her Free is basically about a girl who's fallen in with a bad crowd, and at that point her life is so bad that it's told from the perspective of like a friend or someone or a lover who basically kills her because it's better for her to be dead than it is to live the life that she's living, which is addicted to drugs and just being a mess. And it's told almost in a way of a sympathy killing. But again, it's definitely very, very dark, and it's something we've come to enjoy from the band, and I definitely like it, and that's why I keep mentioning. I mean, it is really everything that you've come to expect from the Koffin. It's just that it's done in a much more aggressive, intense, in your face, and faster paced way than previously before. So in conclusion, don't get me wrong on this album. It is a change in the style, but personally I like it. I definitely feel it's strong enough to make sure that even though they changed a bit of their style, it doesn't feel weak or different to the point where it's bad in any way. I definitely like Inhumane a little bit more, but I think it was a stronger album overall. Just in general, it was a longer album, had more to go on. This album still definitely holds up even today. Fans of the band or of the genre may be a little bit split on this album. If you're looking, again, more for the kind of hardcore punk style, this is something for you. If you're drawn more to that kind of poppy rockabilly, this isn't going to be your thing. And it is a style that they actually carry over into the next album that they released 2 years after this one as well. But I really do feel it holds up as definitely a strong entry in their discography, and over 10 years of this album, and I still think it's it's a change, but it's a change that worked for the band for this album. Thank you guys so much for watching A Decade Under the Influence. We're looking at Koffin Cat's album Straying from the Pack. Like the video if you like what you saw. Subscribe to the channel for more. If you have any suggestions for me as far as what albums that are turning 10 this year, throw them at me. I'll try to see if I can get to them, see what I like. Leave a comment down below, anything you want to say about this. Make sure you subscribe as well on, or follow as well on Twitter at Metalloud. Stay up to date on everything and come visit the site. All the links are down below.